Hey gang, it's JC, and this is your Daily Dose for Monday, April 12th, opening day, 2010. Thank you very much for the deluge of email from people saying they really missed the opening day baseball show today. We heard from a lot of you, our day will come again. By the way, a copy of that opening day show we did back in 1998 is in the archives at the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. We're going to talk more about that here in just a minute. I lived all over the country and did live all over the country on my way to St. Louis 26 years ago. Milwaukee County Stadium, saw a lot of games there. Of course, Miller Park's up there right now, but back in the day it was County Stadium. That was the place where they shot the Major League movies. Now, I know it was supposed to be Cleveland, but for whatever reason, they couldn't shoot in Cleveland, so when you see those Major League movies, that's the old County Stadium in Milwaukee. I remember seeing lots of very dull baseball games in Kansas City when I lived in Omaha. We would truck down there with busloads of people from Omaha down for the weekend games in Kansas City. Got to see Cal Ripken play in Baltimore at the old Memorial Stadium. That was sort of fun. And in 1976, I was living near Detroit, Michigan. And if you know your baseball, you know that 1976 was that incredible season by Mark the Bird Fidrych. And I have some very, very fond memories of that. When I was in high school, of course, we would all cut school for opening day at Wrigley Field. We would all show up with sunburns the next day and fake notes, but we seemed to get away with it for some reason. Most of the time it was actually more windburn than sunburn because it was cold for a lot of those opening days. But here in St. Louis, we have something special. But as I said on Friday's Daily Dose, we're starting to lose that a little bit. There's a lot of bars and restaurants where people stay until just about the first pitch at 3:15. And so when the trucks come out with the Cardinal players and when Stan Musial is introduced to the crowd, they're playing to an almost half-empty Busch Stadium. The Cardinals need to do something about that, come up with something. I have a couple of ideas myself, but we need to get that tradition more entrenched with the younger end demos because they're blowing it off, and that's very, very sad. Going back to some other baseball stories, of course, Buffalo, New York. I lived there in 1983 when Robert Redford and Barry Levinson came to town to shoot The Natural. I actually worked on that film crew a little bit. And of course, you'll all remember we went to Dyersville, Iowa. I've been there about a half a dozen times, but we took a whole busload of people up to the Field of Dreams back in, what was that, probably about 1989 or 1990. You know, they shot that movie in Dyersville, Iowa in 1988, and you'll remember, those of you who are weather buffs, that there was an incredible drought in the Midwest. They were trying to shoot that movie, and the grass kept dying, so they ended up painting the field. So the Field of Dreams is really the field of paint up there. We have some other great stories about the Field of Dreams I'm sure we'll toss your way in an upcoming Daily Dose somewhere down the line. I mentioned Cooperstown. You need to make that trip. It's not an easy place to get to, by the way. You got to fly into Albany, New York. That's the best way to do it, I think. You fly into Albany, then you rent a car, and you drive 2 hours to Cooperstown, but it is a great trip. You know, I grew up in the tumultuous 1960s, so you got JC's adolescence being combined with the tumultuous 1960s, and yet I had a tremendous relationship with my father, and it was the bond of baseball, not just watching games and going to the ballpark, but also him coaching, that I think that when I rebelled, but I didn't rebel against him. Baseball can do wonderful things, and that is one of the reasons I bring this up, because it's one of the most irritating things that you'll see in the discussion of professional sports. When people say, and there's a lot of people that have been turned off by all professional sports and by baseball because of the strikes and the work stoppages years ago, and they go, well, you know, it's a business. Or my favorite, it's only a business. Knuckleheads, okay? It's more than just a business. As a matter of fact, it's also something that's so complicated to describe that everybody from reporters and writers and poets have been trying to use their words to describe what baseball really means to people. Baseball connects us with our youth, and that's not something you sort of mess around with. It's almost like music. Try to remember what you listened to in your adolescence and in your youth. Can you imagine somebody coming along and saying, well, you know, music, it's only a business? Don't be talking like that. By the way, speaking of it's only a business, when the World Series is played, and it's the final game, and there's only a couple of outs left, and one team knows it's going to lose, and they get that obligatory shot into the dugout, and you see the team that's going to lose, and you see the looks on their faces, because they know they came this close to winning the World Series and they're going to lose. Take a good look at the looks on the faces of those players this World Series, and tell me if you think those are looks of people who think that this is just a business. All right, I want to show you one last thing here. We're doing the Daily Dose against the trophy wall and the baseball wall here in the basement of the palatial Corcoran Mansion. But I want to show you something here. This goes back to, I think it was 1962. I think 62 was the year that Phillips 66 put out this instructional hitting record, Stan Musial and Joe Garagiola. I have had this since I bought my very own copy. I think it was $2.99 with a fill-up, okay, at Phillips 66 back in 1962. And if you look right here, you can see that Stan Musial autographed that for me. And when you look down in the corner here, here's the shot of me sitting next to Stan when he was autographing this record, which I've had since I was a little boy. That's what baseball is, folks. That's what baseball is. All right, now JC's Eye Candy today, also something for Cardinal baseball fans. We did the show from a helicopter to kick off the 2006 season in the brand new Busch Stadium, and I took a great picture, and you can download it, keep it for yourself. It's suitable for framing, folks, no charge. But that's right there in JC's Eye Candy. It's right below what you're looking at right now. All right, tomorrow we'll be back, and I will tell you some of the things that I saw downtown during the opening day festivities. Also, we'll have the weekend wrap, and I will tell you about the interesting phone call that I got from one of the local TV stations late last week. That's all coming up. In the meantime, that's your Daily Dose for Monday, April 12th, opening day, St. Louis style. It's a holiday, folks. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.